I am beating every N64 game, and I mean all of them. The twist is, the next game I play is randomly selected, so I have no clue what's coming next. This is the journey to beating every N64 game. Game number 116, Rayman 2: The Great Escape. Released in 1999, this game was both developed and published by Ubisoft. Ah, the good old days when Ubisoft actually made good games. Feels like so long ago. This was a game I didn't own, but I did rent it and grind it out before I had to return it. The original Rayman on PlayStation was really tough, but I remember having a good time with this one. I hadn't really seen nor played this game since that time, so I was pretty excited to revisit it. Was everything I remembered just pure nostalgia, or is it actually good? I guess we'll find out. Let's get into it. The game just has a single player story mode, so that's what we'll be doing to beat this game. It opens with a cutscene giving some background on the story. Some unknown voice is talking to us saying that pirates have overtaken the world, and now everything is covered in darkness and there's monsters all over the place. Rayman has been captured and all the people of the world have been turned into slaves. During the battle, the pirates destroyed the heart of the world, which scattered 1,000 lumps of energy all over the world. Rayman is the only hope to save everybody. Honestly, it's a pretty cool opening cinematic. Then it goes to another cutscene showing a large flying pirate ship. This is the Buccaneer, captained by Admiral Razorbeard. It mentions how there are over 18,000 slaves on board. How the heck do that many people even fit on that thing? The unknown voice says we have been sent help. There's a big blue guy being dragged by the pirates toward our cell. His name is Globox, and apparently he's Rayman's friend. Rayman explains he's lost his powers and feels weak. Globox says he brought a gift from Lai the Fairy, a silver lum. This allows Rayman to shoot his fist, one of his old powers. Then we finally get control. Using the punch button sends a ball of energy, which allows us to escape the cell. Upon exiting, Rayman begins sliding down a pipe. This sure looks familiar. Oh yeah, Tonic Trouble started like this. That game was essentially a prototype to see if they could make Rayman 2 in 3D, so this makes sense. We land on a platform at the end of the pipe, but Globox comes barreling down out of control and launches us off the pirate ship. Thankfully, this isn't real life, so Rayman survives the insanely long fall through the atmosphere. Now you fully have control of the game. I ran into a flying bug named Murphy. His teeth were real freaky. He's basically a tutorial thing like the owl in Ocarina of Time or something like that. Next, I took a break to absolutely go to town on this bacon and egg sandwich. While doing that, I noticed Rayman just removed his body and was bouncing it around. Something is not normal about him. After that, I wandered around a bit and found a cage in an alcove. Murphy showed up and said I should destroy as many as I can because they're full of energy. A yellow llama appeared where the cage was, and he says these give access to secret places. He told me to press L after collecting it, and it brought up a screen with some lore. These yellow lums are the fragments of the heart of the world, broken up to 1,000 pieces. There was a large gap, and here I learned Rayman can use his hair as a helicopter. This acts as a hover where you fall much slower than normal. He can also ledge grab, and it's really responsive. On the other side of the ledge were a bunch of tiny, well, whatever kind of creature Globox is. They said Globox is their dad and they miss him and they started crying. We promised to rescue him, but first we need to find Lai. They said the pirates took her. Through the tunnel past them, the camera turned to show two walls with a gap between them. Man, something about this section brought a huge rush of nostalgia to me. I vividly remember doing this part back in the day. Essentially, you can climb walls like that by just spamming jump. When I destroyed the next cage, a bunch of blue guys came out, and they were arguing over which one of them was the king of the teensies. There's infighting within the royal family, I see. Rayman's fed up with their nonsense, and he demands to know where he can find Lai. They say the pirates took her to the Fairy Glade, and we'll have to travel through the Hall of Doors to reach her. It's a place where you can travel to different worlds, and only the teensies know how to get there. It requires 5 yellow lums to activate the portal, but thankfully that's how many there were in this first area. They activate it, and Rayman jumps in. This takes us to the overworld of the game. It's a pretty standard level select. It shows how many yellow lums and how many cages you found in each one. So now it was on to the next level, Fairy Glade. In the start of this level, I learned Rayman can swim. The controls work really well too. You control which direction you're going with the joystick and press A to rise or Z to descend. Definitely unique, and it felt nice to use. You do have an air meter and the blue lungs will refill it. It also introduces that you can climb on some ceilings. This is a classic mechanic in platformers, dating back to the NES most likely, or maybe even earlier. I think the issue with these is usually you move so slow. I ran into a green lum a bit later. These act as checkpoints. It was convenient too, because Rayman just completely vaporized when landing in the water ahead. This must be one of the rivers in West Virginia. Then I ran into a red lum. These restore your health. If it falls all the way down, well, let's just say Rayman isn't going to be feeling too hot. A great thing about this game compared to many platformers of that era is that you just have infinite lives. I am personally of the opinion that life counters in a platformer should be a relic of the arcade era and nothing more. With fairly placed checkpoints, lives just don't need to exist. I traveled to a different area for the next level, and I was greeted with a robot pirate ready to kill me. It was jumping around on the balcony nearby and throwing bombs down. Little did the robot know that's exactly what I wanted to happen. The bomb blew up some boards on the floor, allowing me to pass. After traveling a bit through this area, I ended up somewhere else where another pirate was, and this time he was up close. You have to fight a lot of these guys in this game, and it's pretty smooth doing so. Holding Z locks onto it, and you can easily attack it while strafing to dodge its attacks. In here was a dispenser for explosive powder kegs. This must be what that guy was throwing at me earlier. Sometimes you have to carry things like this, and Rayman walks so slow. I used the powder keg to blow up a door that was blocking the path. Then there was this room where the floor was just a rope segmented into a bunch of squares. Somehow Rayman uses this to bounce way up in the air. It's essentially an auto jump thing. You can't walk here, only bounce. I narrowly avoided some lasers, and then I finally found her. There was Lai, but she was trapped. She said I needed to find some machine and destroy it to save her. Okay, can you be a bit more descriptive? Oh, it's probably this big old thing with the electricity coming out of a faucet. Good thing there are some clearly marked weak points, along with an infinite supply of powder kegs. So it launches these bombs at you, and you can throw the keg directly in the air while you destroy them. After taking out all the weak points, the machine exploded and Lai was freed. Rayman talks about how he was hoping she could give him his powers back, but she says even she is too weak to give them to him. This is because the lums have been separated. Then she asks me if I know a dude named Polocus. This is where the game became completely unplayable and worthy out of a 0 out of 10 in my book. Lai said his power are immense. What the heck is that? May as well return this game to Funko Land at this point. Anyway, she says she can help, but he's been gone for years. There's a legend to bring him back by acquiring 4 magical masks. If we can get those, we can awaken Polocus and save the world. She gives us what little energy she's been able to store up, which isn't too much. It does let us grab onto purple lums though. I feel like this power-up is iconic to Rayman. He punches the purple lum and it acts like a grappling hook. Feels pretty cool to do, reminiscent of Spider-Man. Now I was in yet another new area of the level. There was this insanely massive pipe with toxic sludge pouring down it. At the bottom there were these standalone tornadoes. No idea how such a thing can stay in a stable state. Rayman can use his helicopter to fly with these. The exact same thing was in Tonic Trouble, but it doesn't suck in this game. Man, this one has just improved so much in every way. At the end, I was rewarded with an insanely giant swing from the purple lum. Oh god, that felt satisfying. The king of the teensies was inside. He and Rayman do a silly little dance, which somehow opens up a portal to the exit of the level. The heck was that? When you end a level, it shows a stat screen with the number of cages and yellow lums found, and it also mentions the bonus level. I didn't get access to it, but maybe I need some power-ups to reach certain collectibles, or maybe I just missed them, who knows. Now it's on to the next level, the Marshes of Awakening. Pretty early on in this one, there was a wannabe Mike Wazowski who wouldn't let me pass. He said I could only pass if I knew the name to this place. Well, like 2 sentences ago, I said this was called the Marshes of Awakening, but yeah, sure, whatever, I'll play your little game. So I went down a different path where I found a cage in the swamp. This is Sam, one of Rayman's friends. Or at least it seems that way. We ask him if he knows how to find the 4 masks of Pelokus, and he's like, what the heck are you talking about? But he does mention he saw Glowbox get taken by some pirates on the other side of the marsh. He offers to give us a ride. Then comes a very fun but chaotic section where we're tethered to Sam by the energy of the lums. I mean, he's just moving so fast, and the turns he makes seem so random. Like, dude, I know Glowbox is in trouble, but can you calm down? And why are you moving through these bombs? Let's just go around them. It's fun to move around, but it's pretty frustrating to try to collect all the cages and yellow lums along the way. You're not in control of how Sam moves at all, so you're just at his mercy, dealing with where he takes you. At the end, we jump off and Sam gives us the saddest look in existence, saying he'll miss us and hopes we visit him again. Come on, man, how could I ever forget you, Sal? You're my best bud. Actually, I did come back to fully complete this level, as that was the end of the level once the ride ends. When you get all yellow lums in a level, it pops up saying Yahoo! And it sure makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Now at the stats screen it says we can go to the bonus level. The bonus levels are all the same. It shows a fairy that has gifts for Rayman, and the baby Glowbox needs to beat the pirate in a race to retrieve them. You just alternate mashing the A and B buttons. It's kind of neat, but it gets real repetitive. It'd be cool if they had a bunch of different mini-games for these. Getting to the end, you're congratulated and the fairy refills your health. I guess that's an okay reward? Next level is called the Bayou. Rayman was not born on the Bayou. Before going in, it shows a cutscene back on the pirate ship. Apparently, there's over 22,000 slaves on board now. You can't even fit 22,000 atoms on that thing, come on. We see the Captain Razorbeard himself. A minion informs us that we've reached the swamp, and he freaks out, saying they're all screwing up or whatever. He orders them to send a warship to stop us, and then he eats a lum. It even shows the total count dropping from 1,000 to 999. Going into the next level now, there was a path to the side leading to an altar where Lai was floating in a meditative state. She said this place can take me to a place where I can win life force and power. That's everybody's dream, count me in. This is just like a side course type thing where you follow Lai through a series of platforming sections. There's a timer you have to beat, but you reach points throughout that will give you additional time. When all was said and done, Lai greets us at the exit portal along with the King of the Teensies. It gives you a time in case you wanted to try to speedrun, I guess. It's a nice little side quest to get 50 more yellow lums. Now back to the Bayou. Right away we get some hot barrel floating action through the swamp with flying bombs coming. A bit later I ran into what must have been that warship. It was blasting the bridge I was trying to stand on. I've seen better bridges on Poly Bridge, come on. Towards the end now there was a new type of pirate. This guy just charges at you without any regard for what else might be in front of him. He only sees Rayman. Unfortunately that means the cliff behind me is not visible and he fell to his death. But yeah, there wasn't too much else eventful in this one. I rescued the Teensy King and we did our little dance and left. Now we're on to the Sanctuary of Fire and Ice. Upon entering this level, the Teensy Council was back. They say this is their council chamber and this is where we can travel to different worlds. Since we've recovered enough yellow lums, they will help us. Real quick, I'll talk about the graphics and music in the game. I think the graphics are really good for N64 standards. The game uses the expansion pack to offer a high-res mode, which I did take advantage of. It makes the game lag slightly, but it's barely noticeable compared to some other games. It's a consistent lag as well. The music is real chill, but I find it fits the game well. That doesn't mean some sections won't have intense songs though, just that in general it's more of a relaxed tone. I like how they did it. The beginning of the level was uneventful, but later I ran into a mysterious door. It had a blue and an orange pyramid inside, representing fire and ice. Aw man, this is gonna be sick. I wanna do some awesome trial with lava and flamethrowers and stuff, then another with ice physics and icicles. Or maybe it'll just have me walk off to the side and find the 2 keys to open the door with no obstacles whatsoever. Honestly, this part was such a letdown. I don't even see a need for it to exist. Inside the temple was another one of those sliding sections. Man, they really like that about Tonic Trouble, huh? You just slide so fast, and it's so hard to collect the yellow lums along the way. Thankfully, you can just jump off the cliff to respawn back at the start. At the end of the slide, I was met with Axel, the guardian of the sanctuary of water and ice. Wait, I thought this was a fire and ice. Oh well. I guess this is sort of a boss fight. It's a cool section requiring precision jumps along with shooting of Rayman's fist. Axel gets crushed by an overhanging icicle, so I guess I got my icicle trial after all. Past Axel was a suspicious looking monument. When getting near it, the energy from the lums resonated with it, causing it to open and reveal a mask. This was the first of those masks of Palokus we're supposed to find. It then warps you to a new area and we see Palokus himself. His arms sure are strange. He says he can only speak to us through dreams for now, but if we recover all 4 masks, he'll awaken and join us in the real world. No time to waste, on to the next level, Menhir Hills. Murphy shows back up and says this place is guarded by a walking shell. We can tame it if we know how though. I don't know why it's called a shell. It looks like a pencil that's been sharpened down to the eraser, but it also has legs. So it will just charge at you, and if you run away for long enough it gets tired. This allows you to jump and ride it. Its movement is a bit stiff, but it's way easier to control than riding that snake earlier. Later on, you get a second opportunity to ride one of these guys, this time for much longer. It sort of reminds me of riding the tiger in Crash Bandicoot 3, except you can't really jump on this thing. Through here was another cutscene, and we see some pretty roughed up pirates. On the other side of the room is this giant dude named Clark. Apparently, he took on 20 pirates all by himself. He's not feeling too well though, and he thinks he ate something bad for him. He says he needs a life potion, which I can find in the beginning of the Marshes of Awakening. I need to head to the Cave of Bad Dreams, but the guard won't let me pass without knowing that. Aw man, that's that thing from earlier. It then kicked me out of the level, so to the Cave of Bad Dreams I go. Upon arriving, Mike Wazowski said he can read my mind. He already realizes I know the name of this area. He says he has hidden a treasure within, and we can keep it if we reach it before he does. He's even going to give us a head start. What a nice guy. The vibe of this level is so much different from anything else so far. We're walking on a giant bone structure and there's ghosts floating around everywhere and the ground has this suspicious purple mist. The platforms are all skulls or various bones. It's definitely a change in pace. A bit into the level was another one of those orange pyramids. There were even some other Mike Wazowskis guarding it. Past here was another one of those doors like from a couple levels ago. This time though, the keys were pretty far away. I had to go quite out of my way, jumping on a skull that was being moved around by something. If the arm is that big, I don't want to see the rest. I found the first key and it was a bit frustrating to bring it back. Rayman just moves so slow while he's holding an object, and you've got to make sure not to launch it into the poison below. Upon returning both keys, I was through the door and on my way. Evil Mike Wazowski was on the other side. He said our journey ends here, and I figured I was in for a friendly little chase sequence, you know. My goodness, even as an adult, this screen is a bit unsettling. The camera takes the perspective of being in his mouth, and it just feels like he's inches from devouring you. Actually, if you slow down too much, he does eat you. Man, I must have cried when I saw this as a kid back in the day. When you get to the end, he swaps to a new strategy and tries to kill you in a more traditional fashion, by launching skull platforms at you. Luckily, Rayman's punch causes these to freeze in place, providing a convenient path to reach him. You repeat this process across multiple gaps until you reach a final super long one. For some reason, I struggled to cross this. It was hard to get the punch to aim correctly at the next skull. Plus, if you didn't shoot the one coming at you, it would collide with the one you're standing on. Once I made it to the other side, there was a room full of absurd amounts of treasure. Looked like that end of the Cave of Wonders in Aladdin. Evil Mike Wazowski says we've earned his treasure and we can take all that we want. Then it gives you a choice. You can either take the treasure or refuse it. Obviously, I opted to take the treasure so I could be rich. Rayman gets warped to his own personal island and he's gained quite a bit of weight. But at least he has a massive pile of gold to stare at. It pops up saying the end. And that's about it. Game complete. So yeah, there you have it, my journey to beating Rayman 2. Aw, come on, you guys know that's not the end. I refused to take the treasure, and he said I made the right choice. Rayman is worthy of the elixir of life. Honestly, I love when the devs put in silly little choices like that in their games with funny ways to end. I'm all about it. So I went and gave Clark that elixir, and he's all like, Yahoo! He's thrilled now because he can go beat up more pirates. Man, he sure is violent. Then he sprints through the wall, conveniently providing me a way to a new area. I just followed him along as he broke various load-bearing walls until I made it out. I rode on the shell through a rather tricky precision section, and that was the end of that. Now it's on to the canopy. Right away, I was climbing through the inside of a tree or cave or something. It had spider webs lined all along the walls, and a massive spider to go with it. This thing even puts the huntsman to shame. It only has 6 legs though, but I'm assuming it's supposed to be a spider. The game plays really nerve-wracking music the entire time it's chasing you. It reminds me of the Jaws music. Man, I just kept falling here. Something about this section was rough for me. I fell so much that I lost all my health, and it just brought me back to the start with a little bit of health missing. I even kept the lums in the cage I'd already obtained. There really is no penalty for dying. I finally got past that area and the spider followed me down the hallway. Rayman was forced to jump in a pit, which luckily didn't kill him. In fact, he had to go that way. Conveniently, this fungi-infested forest is where Glowbox is being held. I let him loose by punching a nearby switch. Glowbox is interesting in that he can do a rain dance to cause a thunderstorm at any moment's notice. Kind of like when I lose in one of the sports games. By doing this, he destroyed the laser system blocking the path. As you might expect, he can also use the rain to grow plants. This one hovers through the air. Aw no, the path ahead is blocked by a massive flame wall. With Glowbox, just one little dance will take care of that problem. God, I feel like this is one of those Billy Mays commercials. The one thing he won't do is help you fight. Upon running into a pirate, he ran in the corner shivering. He said he was scared, and Rayman is like, "Aw, don't feel bad. They're super dangerous if you don't have powers like me." Then Glowbox just reaches down his throat and shoves a gross silver lum in our face. Well, now Rayman can charge up his fists, sending a much stronger burst of energy. Further ahead, there was this annoying door with an eye above it. It kept seeing that I was Rayman, and it wouldn't let me pass. Glowbox came in clutch once again, creating a big bush for us to hide in. Holy crap, Metal Gear Solid 3 stole from this game. Anyway, that was the end of that level. Next up is Whale Bay. Early on in this level was a rather strange barrel. What do you do when you see something new? You punch it, of course. This happened to be a new type of enemy, so I made a good call. Then there was a pirate guard who was asleep. I think you're supposed to sneak past them, but usually I just run up to these guys guns blazing. Murphy showed up in this one saying the pirates kidnapped Carmen the Whale, and they plan to use her blubber to oil their ships. Wow, that is just not very nice. I swam my way through the most treacherous of waters into a cage where I flipped a simple switch to let Carmen be free. Take that, SeaWorld, the pirates. Then there was an extremely narrow ride on a shell through a crashed pirate ship. It's so hard to not accidentally bump the walls. I made my way into an underwater cave and Carmen was being cool by giving me air bubbles from behind. Wait a second. What kind of air is Rayman breathing in? That's just nasty. But I guess it is effective. And that's about all there is in that level. Another one down. We are now headed to the Sanctuary of Stone and Fire. Seems like that earlier level. The Teensy Council was here once again and they were opening the way to get another new world. Think we'll be getting a new mask soon. Oh yeah, I have golden gloves now, which just makes my punch way stronger. The fists in the corner represent like your charges, and taking damage loses a charge. This level introduces an iconic yet frustrating mechanic in Rayman games, the plum. Everyone knows plums are delicious, but did you know they can withstand the heat of molten lava? Essentially, when you're on the plum, whichever direction you punch will propel the plum in the opposite direction. It's like an implementation of Newton's third law of motion. It can be quite tough to control, and jumping is a death sentence. If you bring the plum on land, it'll bounce in the direction you throw it. plums are notoriously the most bouncy fruit. It's so frustrating to control these things, jeez. I was getting so annoyed by this pirate too, so I launched the plum onto his head. That'll show him. You can also launch plums onto certain structures like stalagmites to have them act as a platform. That animation was real smooth. Further into this sanctuary was the most red room I've ever seen. Could definitely develop some film here. There was a plum section later on that was so awful. You had to ride it down a lava-filled slope and it's just impossible to get a handle on it. You're basically at the mercy of your starting movement. If it touches the bright lava, you just instantly die. It took almost 10 minutes to get past this thing. There's these spiky vines coming out of the walls toward the end, but at least there's no bright lava there. I really did not like this part. Past all that nonsense, I was in the temple itself. Ah, great, another one of these key orb things. The throws I have to make are ridiculous now. At least Rayman's got a cannon for an arm. Oh yeah, and this glitch happened. What the?
What was that?
Now I've got to get the key across this lava section. Can't throw it in, so guess I gotta resort to the plum. It felt super janky, but I somehow got both Rayman and the key onto it. This seems like something that could be a disaster if things don't go well. What's inside the main area of the temple? More plum lava stuff, of course. I had to balance the plum on the safe lava while blasting this door with my fist. Geez, why did they like this plum so much? Gotta have a sliding section too. Can't have me just running and jumping like a normal old game. I finally set down a second key and this revealed Umber, the guardian of this sanctuary. I thought I was in for like some intense boss fight, but nah, I just stood on its head and it sank into the lava. Through here was a totem with the second mask of Pelokus. No time to waste, on to the echoing caves. It suspiciously shows a cutscene with a pirate going through a door at the start of this one. There's also a new element to the UI in the bottom right, but it doesn't explain what it is. A later Murphy panel said that the door opens with 4 switches, so it's probably for those. So I ran around finding these switches until I hit every switch. And I mean all of them. What could possibly be beyond this door that's so important it needs 4 switches to lock onto it? Oh my god, is Rayman flying through the air on a barrel? So yeah, if you bring one of these powder kegs to a source of fire, you just go on a chaotic journey. The controls for this are smoother than the plum, the snake, and the shell, so good job devs. Something real interesting was past this, a portal to a previous level, the Fairy Glade. Sometimes this can occur where you warp to an inaccessible area of another level. You'll need to do it to achieve 100% completion. Of course they make me ride another plum here too. But there's no time for any of that. We've got to go on to the next level, the precipice. Before entering, it shows us how things are going on Razorbeard's ship. Over 33,000 on board now, what the heck? He is livid that we have 2 masks and he orders his minions to stop us. He should just do it himself, you know? Or they should have a mutiny on his ship, I don't know. The start of this level is a pretty cool concept. Essentially, you're platforming your way along a cliffside to scale it. All the while, that warship is launching cannonballs to destroy everything in your path. This is the most fun kind of stuff in this game to me. Just running and jumping with minimal time to think about what you're going to do next. The second section has you spiraling your way up a tower with the warship still shooting, and now the water level is slowly rising to stop you too. Ah man, this is one of the best levels in the game for sure. The third section slows down quite a bit by having you hover down a massive chasm. You can't just fall down it quickly, so it's kind of strange they brought in this abrupt change of pace. Finally though, you board the warship. At least I think you do. I don't know, it looks like a ship. Anyway, there's a super strong pirate here. He shoots his gun constantly and has way more health than the others. I guess you could say it's like a mini-boss. After killing him, the end of the level was revealed. The next level is the top of the world. The start shows a brief cutscene with a pirate riding along a glowing rail. Naturally, Rayman decides to take this rail for a spin. Quite literally. You ride down the rail at a constant pace and you can use the joystick to spin him around it. Honestly, it is disorienting to look at. I could see someone getting motion sickness from this section. But you know what? They really went with a lot of different ideas for this game, that's for sure. The rest of the level, it's pretty standard, so on we go to the next. Now we go to the Sanctuary of Rock and Lava. The start of this one had another one of those altars where Lai takes you to a race. Yeah, sure, I'll go for a nice run and take an easy 50 yellow lums. These sections are a welcome break. There was a wacky room with a bunch of bouncing eyeballs. I have no clue what's up with that. Probably the main thing in this one is riding this weird plant through a tunnel lined with vines and thorns. It's really slow, but it beats riding on the plum. I finally found the lava further in. There was a rapidly spinning tower and I couldn't really figure out how to safely navigate it. So I just sprinted through the lava waterfall taking a bunch of damage. But hey, it worked, didn't it? That's about all there was to this one. On to Beneath the Sanctuary of Rock and Fire. This one starts with a visit to the Council of Teensies. Aw snap, that means I'm getting a mask at the end. Lai was there to greet me as well. She said she's been gathering energy and she has a new power to give me. Now Rayman can fly with his helicopter. That seems pretty OP. So yeah, I can literally just fly indefinitely with the helicopter now. Feels like it defeats the platforming aspect, but yeah, sure, I'll take it. I guess it seems like this level's impossible without flying. What with all the lava everywhere and vertical climbs needed. There was even an area where lava was flowing down from all sides, or as it appears to be, a flow of cheese, the forbidden nacho dip. In a later section, there was a fan blowing down the tunnel which made me move way too fast. Once again, I struggled to maintain control of where I was going. For this section, the level designers seemed to have a feel for how rough it was to control, so all the obstacles were quite fun to navigate. You constantly feel like you're on the brink of death. I made it to the end of that chaos, and a big yellow guy knocked me into the pit of cheese. Rayman yells out he can't fly anymore, so I guess that was short-lived. This boss's name is Fouch. Basically, you just run towards the camera while he shoots beams of fire at you. It seemed easy enough, you know? Just jump with the right timing. But then he starts sending vertical beams, which is just not fair. Can't jump over those. You damage him by shooting the stalactites when he's under them. After doing that a few times, Fouch was toast. I reached the center of the room where the third mask of Pelocus was waiting. Pelocus was hyped that I only needed one more to bring him out. The game is nearing the end now. On to the Tomb of the Ancients. We get an update on Razorbeard's ship. Somehow there's 45,000 slaves on board. Literally no shot they all fit there. He's all upset that we found 3 masks and all that, still blaming his insubordinates rather than taking responsibility himself. Back to the game now, and that dang spider's return. God, I hate spiders. The atmosphere of this level's pretty rough. Here I'm standing on a rib cage and there's a huge amount of blood below me. There's also some skeleton trying to grab me from a treasure chest. Oh yeah, the spider's on the chest too. There's like a section where you ride a barrel down a poison river. You have to snipe these switches on the wall to turn off the electricity and it's pretty hard to aim at them. At the end there was a big chamber where Clark was chilling. Something was wrong though. Seems like he's being mind controlled. Turns out there's a device on his back and the pirates are making him try to kill me. Shooting the switches on the walls revealed lasers which fried the circuits on his back. I broke that thing and he was back to his good old self. And that's the end of that level. I spent an hour and a half or so going back to all the previous levels and getting the lums and cages I missed. Figured why not go for 100% completion on this game, you know? Anyway, on to the next level, the Iron Mountains. I was surprised to see the Teensy Council at the start of this one. That must mean the final mask is at the end of this level. Heck yeah. The very beginning of this was the most busy room I've ever seen. There's electricity in the middle, a rapid spinning platform, multiple switches, lasers, and some kind of lights on the walls. Complete sensory overload. Then Rayman lands in a hot air balloon and flies off for some reason. He lands in an area that has these robots that remind me of those dudes from Star Wars. It's like an AT-ST or something like that. They kill you in one hit if they touch you. Inside the structure was a ride on one of those shells. This one was quite disorienting though because you can ride up poles for some reason. It's hard to tell if you're on the ground or the ceiling. I ran into Glowbox's wife later on and she was crying because the pirates stole all her babies. She said Glowbox tried to save them, but he got captured. Rayman hops on a nearby ship, and apparently this woman's name is Uglet. Or is he just being mean? I don't know. So now we're piloting the ship and I can shoot the laser on top. It controls real smooth. It feels kind of fun to just wreak havoc on everything nearby. You basically just have to go to these docks where the kids are being held. Man, there's so many of them. Glowbox and Uglet sure were busy. I returned the kids and one of them said he found a mask down in the mines. Whoa, that's the final mask of Pelocus. I brought the mask to him and now he was free. He says he's invincible on Earth, but in the air he's useless. This means I've got to fight the pirates on their flying ship all by myself. Gee, thanks dude. Why did I even get these masks anyway? Now it's time for the end. The next level is called the prison ship. We get a cutscene where it shows some salesman giving a pitch to Razorbeard about how he's created a robot that will surely stop Rayman. It can even pull his ears. It's his greatest creation called the Grolgoth. Razorbeard buys this abomination, so I guess we'll be dealing with that soon. This level starts with quite a long sliding section. There's so many yellow lums along the way, and it's nuts to try to get them all. Luckily, you can just intentionally jump off and it remembers the ones you've already collected. I can't imagine trying to get all these in one go, that would be so hard. At the end, there's an odd section where you slide in a circle around a pit, and then finally that's over. This led to some room full of lava, and there's a shell that can fly. Once again, this is quite disorienting because you can spin on it, which causes the camera to turn with you. It can be so hard to follow where you're going. The area after that has you going through branching paths on the shell, and the camera just goes nuts here. I feel like I need a pilot's license before I can control this thing effectively. Then there's this room where you're just being shot with lasers the entire time. I have no clue how you're supposed to avoid them, it just felt so unfair. Now, past that, we get a cutscene showing Razorbeard being informed of how well we're doing one final time. He says he's going to throw that guy in the lava and handle this himself. Yeah, like you should have been doing this whole time, dude. Grolgoth is shown on top of the ship along with Glowbox being hung upside down on a rope. Rayman shows up and narrowly avoids a cannonball, and now it's time to fight. Grolgoth runs around the arena significantly faster than you, and he tries to stomp you. He shoots bombs at you, which leads to his own demise, as you can hit them back to damage him. It's really a super simple fight. Once you hit him a few times, it shows Razorbeard commanding Grolgoth to do a huge stomp, which destroys the floor. Rayman is falling straight for the lava, but then Lai somehow uses her energy to float us safely to a platform where a flying shell is waiting. She then appears with just her head saying Pelocus destroyed all the pirates on the ground, so if we can just stop Razorbeard, the world will be saved. Now it's phase 2 of the boss. Grolgoth is suspended above the lava, keeping itself up by using its arms. The shell we're on can shoot, so just shooting the arms will knock it into the lava. That's easy enough, but it gets hard after you hit it. Grolgoth shoots these homing attacks at you, and they're so awful to dodge. You're supposed to trick them into slamming into a wall or a pole, but they just follow you so well. I'm not sure if I'm just bad at flying or what, but I struggled hard to get past this. I died quite a few times here. You've got to hit him like 8 times in total, and he shoots the homing attack every time you do. I don't know, maybe I just suck at this fight. Finally though, I did take Grolgoth down. Razorbeard flees in an escape pod, and he initiates a self-destruct sequence on Grolgoth. We see the airship explode, and that's gotta be the end for our hero Rayman. It shows a cutscene with all our friends mourning the loss of their friend Rayman, and his foot is sitting atop one of those mask altars. But then the foot moves. Somehow Rayman survived, and he's coming back on a crutch. They're all thrilled that he's alive. It then shows an epilogue with some fireworks, saying how he saved the world and the heart is reformed and all that. Then it hints at a sequel, and the credits play. If you're wondering, getting all the lums and cages gives you absolutely nothing, which kind of sucks. The only thing you get is it shows your save file having 100% completion. But yeah, that's about all there is for this one. Game complete. So yeah, there you have it. My journey to beating Rayman 2: The Great Escape. This is one of those games I remember liking quite well as a kid, and I think it holds up decently well. The performance of the N64 is a bit rough around the edges, but this is a good game. It offers plenty of variety in how you go through the stages, some better than others. Overall, I think it's well done. The platforming feels nice, and none of the levels are too confusing. It's a bit on the easier side as far as platformers go, except the final boss. I think the bosses in general were a bit lacking. The graphics are good and the music fits well. It's available to play on Steam these days, so if you want to try it, that's how I'd recommend doing it. Overall, good game. I gave it an 8.5 out of 10 for enjoyability and a 5 out of 10 for difficulty. Hey, thanks for watching the video. Have a sneak peek at the next game. So there are 274 on the list. You can't even see them. 3, 2, 1, go! 127! Actually, what is that? I can't... Oh... you can't... Can you see it? I think you might be able to see it. It's Madden. The next Madden game. Madden 64. But yeah, if you made it all the way to the end, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, consider giving it a like. It helps the channel a lot. And if you like this series, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next one.